Well, that'll wrap it up for this week's headlines. And now it's time for a segment that we like to call Jake's Takes. This week, we're getting a hot take from Jake on Rick and Morty Season 5. Caper Doodle, run that.
When you lack perspective from your favorite guy, the one in the fancy headband who always seems a little high. In the age of shitty opinions, where everyone seems fake, it's time for a better take. More specifically, Jake's Take.
Oh, my knees. Nice. Love that fucking intro. Great job, guys. Well, sit down, kids. Grandpa's got some hot takes for you on Rick and Morty's Season 5. I thought long and hard about where to start with this, and honestly, I'm going to just go line by line. We're reading this thing to filth. Episode by episode, I'm giving you quick feedback on what has been a bizarre season, to say the least. Collection. First up, Mort Dinner Rick Andre, which is episode 1. Personally, thought it was okay. I felt like it wasn't too crazy. The story felt complete, so it felt like the Harmon hero's journey, if you will. Mr. Nimbus was a pretty fun character, and I found myself lost in his thrust every time he was on screen. But anyway, it was all right in my book. And so that's going to be my quick take on the first episode. And it started off okay. I know Dotson has other feelings on this first episode, but it's one of those that I think it started off okay. Next was Mortplicity. And this episode was complete filler. We've reached that level in Rick and Morty, guys. We are at anime filler episodes on Rick and Morty. Next season, we're going to get fucking a beach episode. I swear, it's going to happen. But this one is pretty bad, in my opinion. I mean, hell, I would take an interdimensional cable episode again over this one. I love those episodes, actually. They're a creative way to do filler. This just wasn't a creative way to do filler, in my opinion. So anyway, complete nothing burger of a fucking episode. Then we get back on the rails again, which was with a pretty deep episode, which is a Rick Convenient Mort. And basically it goes into Morty's relationship with Planetina, which was honestly touching to see play out. I know a lot of theorists have said that maybe this season is evil Morty's origin story. And, that's kind of why it's felt a little odd, right? And that this episode was one of those that really hit home at that loss and everything. But I really just thought this was a Morty, kind of character building episode. But it felt canon. It felt like it was a part of our Rick and Morty. It didn't feel like a weird offside adventure, which the Mortplicity episode felt like. And even the, Mort Dinner Rick Andre one as well. And so... Anyway, I really thought it was a great, episode 3 was a good one that got us back on the rails. But then we get episode 4, which is another one that was completely garbage filler. It's a Rick Pendant Spray. And I guess it was supposed to shock us. There's this giant incest baby thing, and it's mentioned almost every episode henceforth, like afterwards. The Chud B story, which was the horse people, was possibly the worst thing I've seen on this fucking show. I mean, this whole episode was nonsense, and I'm not talking about the good classic like Rick and Morty kind of nonsense. I'm talking about just complete and utter just fucking awful. It was bad writing nonsense. It was at that point in this show, I was looking at my phone at certain times, and I'm just gonna say that's a sign of a low point for a show for me. Because if a show is engaging, I'm usually the one that's looking over at Jessica, going, "Get off your phone! Watch this. This is good TV." But this was not good TV. I legit have never been wanted in an episode of Rick and Morty.
Damn.
Or fucking awful. Episode 5 I'd call a low to mid-tier episode of Rick and Morty. It was a Morty Ken graffiti. There's really nothing to even mention from this episode. I consider it to be filler as well, right?
Yeah.
And then next we get Max Nonsense, but this one was a little bit more fun in my opinion. It was more Morty style nonsense. It was Rick and Morty's transportation or they're always saying, and it has some more memorable lines of the season, in my opinion. Some of them are kind of weird, like the one, this guy gets turned into a turkey. There's a whole song about U.S. soldiers getting turned into turkeys. was funny. One dude says, I've already done enough to pay for college. I think is a really great line from a military personnel. But it's outlandish. It's so outlandish that it's funny at times. And it was overall a different kind of funny for Rick and Morty to me. And so episode 6, okay. Then we have episode 7, Gotron, Geresis, Rick and Evangelion. And it's like, oh, I get it. Rick is a fucking he's an addict, Oh, okay, we get that. But anyway, the episode overall, I will say, was fun. It was an interesting mix of like an Italian mafia movie, but then with like an anime, like giant robot show. So take that as you will. But it felt like a classic adventure again. But this time Summer got a good taste of the spotlight, so I thought that was overall one of the better episodes of the season. And so then finally we get last week's episode, which was a gut fucking punch. And this is right before the hour-long finale, by the way, which isn't coming out in September. It's Rick-ternal Friendship of the Spotless Mort. And finally, things start to feel canon again. Like we are getting like a little bit back on the rails. Things are starting to feel okay. It feels like we're actually in our Rick and Morty that we watch universe and not just some kind of other random Rick and Morty one. It feels like a normal episode of Rick and Morty, but it gave us some of the biggest bombs of the entire series. I mean, and not just the season. I mean, the entire series. One of the things being that like Ricks hate other Ricks based off the fact that, and the spoiler alert, that our Rick that we know with Morty lives with versions of Beth that lived, apparently. So that whole origin story that we see in the Shonies kind of had some truth to it. And so this episode really reveals that. And it's just one of those that everybody online and, I rewound it just to make sure that I heard that right. He was like, are you one of those Ricks that live with our dead daughter? And like, I was like, whoa, what? Like, hold on. Like, is that kind of confirmed? And so
that was a big bombshell.
Yeah, a huge bombshell, in my opinion. And so it left me with, kind of like so many questions. And, really was the daughter and wife killed of the Rickest Rick? Was that whole Shoney's kind of seen something that really happened? This episode punched me in the face personally. It was so good. It made some of the shittier episodes of this season somehow seem better. Overall, it's been one of the most disappointing seasons in my book. I know, like, rocking a lab coat coming in here, you're like, oh, fucking Jake's a fan. And look, I even found a blue shirt very similar to Rick's, by the way. So, like, hey, look at that. I'm cosplaying, mom. But it's just, I was excited to see this season. So far, it's been one of the most disappointing ones. Weird for me to do that. You know me. I'm the guy that gives everything like 8s and above. And so, like, but the last episode was 10 out of 10. But this season's been a 5 for me, dog. Questions, comments? How have you guys liked season 5 so far?
I'm with you. This season has been pretty trash. I thought the Nemesis episode was the worst start to the season. And then I can't even remember the Mortican graffiti. I can't remember even what the plot line of that episode was. But yeah, that was this whole season has been really, there was no Pickle Rick moments. There was no, like really, really stand out lines that I will take away. And it's been a disappointment in comparison to all the other seasons. And it's kind of like, once it feels like once you finally had security in your show, you got bought for 70 episodes, is when you started pulling out the trash plot lines. And I don't think that's what we want,
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of this season feels like filler. How I told you guys earlier, how like you can skip like fucking 5 seasons of Naruto and still have seen all of Naruto, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like half this season is those kind of filler episodes that really are just kind of, I don't know if it's like, weeks Dan Harmon took off and went on vacation and the rest of the writing crew kind of like just had open reign, to do whatever they wanted. But a lot of the episodes haven't felt like I said, that Dan Harmon has a classic writing style of the hero's journey that kind of like each episode feels complete. And so even when it's nonsensical, there's some sense in it in a weird way. And that fucking one with the chuds, man, I swear that episode felt, like I said, I felt disrespected. Like I felt like it literally disrespected my intelligence and was like, "This is a television show from the creators of a show that you enjoy." It felt like some kind of wolf in sheep's clothing. It's like and I mean, this joke may be insensitive. This joke may be insensitive, but the whole fucking episode offended me. So it felt like a Make-A-Wish kid got to direct this episode or something.
No. Oh God!
Some child that hadn't directed anything come in and was like, "I'll make an incest baby episode. They'll remember me forever." And and so that episode is a cancer on this season.
Oh,
there is the key, y'all.
That's a lot.
That was what we came here for. That was
a lot to unpack.
Take that we were there for. Damn. All right.
Wow.
You're welcome. Jake's Takes. Hey, 100 years. Jake's Takes. 100 years.
Not pulling any punches.
I'm just gonna let that taste marinate in our mouth while we go to break. Actually,
Yeah.
That'll wrap it up for the first half of the show. Don't go anywhere when we